18th century law called the Insurrection Act if Minnesota's leaders don't put a stop to the protests. That law authorizes presidents to deploy military combat troops domestically to suppress rebellion or domestic violence. Trump administration officials today defending the president's threat after a top Justice Department official accused state and local leaders of, quote, terrorism.
The Insurrection Act is a tool at the president's disposal. As you know, it has been used sparingly, but it has been used by previous presidents in American history.
You know, I spoke to the president this morning about several different things, but we did discuss that. And that certainly is within the president's constitutional authority to use that if he thinks he needs to keep people safe.
The White House threats come after another night of intensifying clashes in Minneapolis, including a federal agent shooting a man in the leg during an operation to arrest him. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying that agent feared for his safety after he was attacked by two other men armed with, quote, weapons and shovels and brooms while the officer was trying to make an arrest. Officers on the scene fired flashbangs and sprayed chemical agents at protesters. Minnesota's leaders speaking out last night, calling the situation on the ground chaotic.
What's going on, everybody? It's your brother Nubreed coming through with another live stream. So it looks like Minnesota is continuing to pretty much descend into chaos. And this is right after another ICE shooting against another citizen. You know, this is coming right off the Renee Macklin Good shooting, you know, the 37-year-old. And I believe it was January 14th, a Venezuela man, he got shot in the leg by an ICE agent. And, you know, this happened in northern Minneapolis. And, you know, we knew that things was going to go left when they start calling protesters agitators. And so it's now hitting the fan in Minnesota. And I'm going to definitely share my thoughts on what's really transpiring, because it's always more than what meets the eye. But look at what's going on.
2,000 to 3,000 armed agents of the federal government have been deployed to Minnesota. Armed, masked, undertrained ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools, they're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans, kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process.
And we're in a position right now where...
Now, let's stop here for a moment, because regardless of what political affiliation you have, if that's what's truly happening in Minnesota, where innocent citizens are being harassed, detained unlawfully, and brutalized, that's problematic. I don't care if you consider yourself Democrat or Republican. My question is our rights as United States citizens being infringed upon? Are we on the cusp of martial law? Are freedoms being taken from U.S. citizens? Because remember, there was a whole campaign by this current administration to denaturalize citizens. And it looks like the beginning of that is already started. Now, here we have Minnesota's mayor saying some of the same things that I've said from the very beginning. What he's about to say is pretty much what I said when all of this has started. And I want y'all to listen to what he says here.
We have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors.
Now, he's asking the local law enforcement to fight ICE agents. Now, I want y'all to understand, they have about 600 police in Minnesota. or Minneapolis to be exact, against around 4,000 to 5,000 ICE agents. So they're immensely outnumbered and outgunned. And so the fact that you have this happening right now is insane. Now, of course, we got to scratch below the surface. We know a lot of what we're seeing is street theater. That's right. We know a lot of it is a hoax, and that's the word I'm going to use. A lot of it is a hoax. A lot of it is made for TV. Make no mistake about that. But the question is, what message are they trying to deliver? Because it's definitely bread and circus going on. But the question is, what message are they trying to deliver? Somebody said it's 4,000 ICE agents in Minnesota. Yes, 4,000 against around 600 police. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. We're going to unveil this and unpack it.
We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another.
And this is what I said at the beginning. The moment where this mayor said that he was going to push to have the National Guard come through and go against ICE, I said, hold on now. The Bible tells us that a land divided can't stand. How could you have local law enforcement going against the government and the government going against local law enforcement? Now, what is the message here? The message is America is truly destabilized. It's truly destabilized. All of the battles that they've had up top, and when I say up top, I'm talking about those who pretty much control America, those behind the scenes. All the battles that they had on top has now sunk into the streets. So America is not in a good place. It's very much destabilized. You got different states going against other states. You got a whole civil war that can transpire because of this. But let us proceed. Let us proceed.
Two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another.
Today, Minnesota's governor responding to the president's threat to send in military troops, telling him, quote, "Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are." Governor Walz also making an appeal to Minnesotans to not, quote, fan the flames of chaos. Joining me now is NBC News correspondent Shaq Brewster in St. Paul, NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley, and NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Cubie. Thanks to all of you for starting us off. Shaq, you have been there on the ground right in the middle of these protests for days now. Walk us through what you're seeing and hearing today.
Look, there's still a lot of frustration. There's still a lot of anger. There's a sentiment that the shooting that we even saw last night is just reinforcing the will for people to come out in what is the frigid, cold temperatures. I'll let you just take a look at the scene that we have here outside of the federal building. This has become somewhat of an ICE headquarters here in St. Paul, though pretty close to Minneapolis. You see every once in a while, federal agents will go inside and you'll hear the crowd jeer at them, make it known that they don't. And, you know, I was at the site where we saw a lot of that chaos last night where the shooting happened, and I talked to some people. I saw investigators going through looking for more evidence from the state, but I saw a community member.
I mean, this looked like something off a Purge movie right here. And could y'all imagine if it was summertime with all of this happening? This is all taking place in the dead of winter. And these people are outside. And I want to be very much clear. So we see the total, we see the whole frame. We see the whole picture here. They're playing us against each other. Democrats and Republicans are working together. This is the truth that nobody really wants to tell you. But I truly believe that there are what you would call agitators that are out there. They are working together. It's problem, reaction, solution. They want to get people acclimated to accepting military in the streets, harassing citizens. They want to set up checkpoints. They want to set up checkpoints in all this chaos. And now you got the president threatening to use the Insurrection Act. And the conservatives are behind it, but they don't quite understand what that act means. Right? That's not just casual language. That's emergency language. That law exists for moments when the federal government believes civil authority is breaking down. All right? When they believe that they had no longer have civil authority, that's when they pull the Insurrection Act. So the real question, it really isn't whether people agree with Trump or not. This is bigger than Donald Trump. The question is, why is this type of rhetoric even being put on the table? You don't talk about deploying that level of power unless you believe something is really slipping out of control. See, something is at mist. Something is at play. Because eventually they're going to really lose control. They're going to really lose control. But let's continue.
Coming out and cleaning up, picking up some of those canisters that were launched, the tear gas, the pepper spray. I want you to listen to a conversation I had with one of them about the mood and feeling here on the ground in Minneapolis.
Now, look, when you see this, you see the cameras in play right here. In the midst of all this chaos, this is lights, camera, action. This is lights, camera, action right here. This is how movies are filmed. This is how movies are filmed. Straight up.
About the mood and feeling here on the ground in Minneapolis.
I think a lot of people have described it or asked if it's feeling chaotic here, and I disagree. I think that what they're doing is chaotic, what ICE agents are doing is chaotic, but I feel like people are organized and brave and courageous, and I feel like we're winning against them, especially when you see people coming out.
All right, Shaq, thank you so much for your reporting from the ground there. Let me turn to Courtney and Julia. Let me start with you and this threat by the president to use and invoke the Insurrection Act. Walk us inside your conversations today. What are administration officials telling you about that threat?
Yeah, so why this is important is because this would give the president the authority to send troops to Minnesota to be involved, or I mean, frankly, anywhere that he wanted to use them, but in this case, Minnesota. And they would be involved potentially in law enforcement functions. So we've been talking about the National Guard who've been sent to various cities.
So what we got to understand is they are trying to take over law enforcement as we know it. That's what's going on right here. Somebody says it's low IQ to say this is staged as a movie. Let me explain something to you. And I want to be very clear about this. Everything that you see on the media has an agenda. Anything being pushed nationwide, worldwide, globally, whatever, it has an agenda. That woman, that woman who was killed in front of her yard, Renee Nicole, if they didn't want that to blow up, it would have never blew up. Let's be very clear about this. The world is a stage. If they didn't want that clip to go ultra viral, they could easily sweep these things under the rug. The media knows what it's doing. And you got to ask yourself, why does this keep happening in Minnesota? Why does this keep taking place in Minneapolis? You know, you had this happen with George Floyd. Why? Because they have their checkpoints. It's staged. It is staged. So you got to understand that you are in the matrix. And everything they do is to gain more control and keep people in the matrix. Divide and conquer. Let's go.
Around the country, if they are on federal duty, so activated federally, they cannot engage in any kind of law enforcement acts. If they're state National Guard, they can. DC is the outlier. I won't even get into that because that's just confusing. But when it comes to Minnesota, if he were to send federal troops, they could be involved in law enforcement. There are people, the concern is that that would be perceived as he is sending troops against the American people in the streets. So, but we do know that this is something the president has discussed in prior instances as well.
Well, so to follow up on that point, Courtney, he has talked about this before. How seriously are people taking this specific threat?
Anytime the president talks about the possibility of something, you have to take it seriously. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I mean, how many conversations have we had about the president talking about Maduro, and then look, they went in and carried it out? I mean, how many times has he threatened to send the National Guard, and then he has sent them? So we have to take it seriously if the president is discussing it. And also, if he's talking about it publicly, that means that he is having conversations with his senior staff behind the scenes. We know that there are people in his inner circle who are very much in favor of using the Insurrection Act in certain cases.
Now, hold on.
Just quickly before I go to Julia, walk us through what.
Now, although I believe a lot of the things we see is staged, what I want you to understand is once the Insurrection Act is used, it's going to become more common. This is how they operate. They create the problem, then they want to be the solution after they get the reaction. And if it's more common, they're able to do this in other states. It wasn't that common to just be sending National Guard from city to city, setting up shop and setting up bases, but now people got used to it. So now what you can expect is the president to now pull that Insurrection Act anytime when there's a real uprising, when there's real protests. And I'm not saying that these protests aren't real, far as people buying into it. But what I'm saying is the initial setup for this was the reaction that they're getting. Yeah, they are definitely playing chess with the public. And I'm going to show y'all too. I'm going to show y'all some footage of what's going on the ground level in real time too. So you can kind of know what's happening with people.
The Insurrection Act actually looks like.
So it gives him the authority to send troops anywhere in the country that he wants to. You can see it there up on the screen. It's the Insurrection Act of 18.
You hear that? He can send troops anywhere in the country that he wants to. So it'll be common amongst the entire United States, not just Minnesota. Y'all got to understand what's happening right now.
7, whenever the president considers that unlawful destruction obstructions, combinations, or assemblage or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impracticable to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings. He may call into federal service, such as the militia of any state, and use the armed forces. This is me reading the law, but what it basically means is the president can send troops anywhere that he wants if he sees that there is a need and that the...
Yeah, that means at any point in time, if Trump says that this particular city or state is obstructing justice, he can deploy military.
Local authorities can't handle the situation.
Julia, pick up on that.
It's interesting because part of the way it's written, it was either to suppress a rebellion, which would be the argument presumably he'd make in Minnesota, or it was to repel an invasion. So early on, before Trump took office, if you think about a year ago, we were talking about the Insurrection Act. It's something that had been floating during the campaign and the transition, but that's because we thought they were going to use military at the border to repel an invasion. This is not what anyone really had on their bingo card for the second Trump administration, that it would be within U.S. cities, as they're talking about now.
And talk about the way in which these ICE agents are being deployed. Is it within, right now, is it within their purview, or is there a big debate about that, obviously?
Well, ICE agents are acting within their purview in terms that it's okay to search them. We understand there are about 3,000 total federal agents, including ICE and Border Patrol, in Minneapolis. But what the local authorities there are arguing is that the tactics...
You know, it's a reason why these people are wearing masks. What you will find out is a lot of these people are not even American. These are not even Americans, allegedly. They're not even our people. They're not even a part of the country. A lot of these are foreign troops. You know, for a long time, we were talking about these foreign troops. You know, people like Alex Jones used to blow the trumpet about this stuff. I'm telling you, it's a lot of collusion going on. And they also not trained either. That's true. A lot of these people don't have no horse in the race. Yeah, a lot of these people are Russians, 100%, with no horse in the race. Let's just be 100% about that. Because they need people who really don't care about Americans to do this stuff. But let's go.
Are unusual. Their presence is lawful. They have field offices that include this area and this region, and they've made arrests in the area before. But their tactics, when it comes to traffic stops, when it comes to profiling, when it comes to citizenship checks, we've seen videos of them going up to people seemingly at random, asking documents, and then, of course, the crowd control tactics that Shaq is watching.
And you have new reporting on some concerns about their training?
Yeah, that's right. This is kind of wild. So there was an AI tool that they used when there was that huge surge to hire 10,000 new ICE officers between the time the One Big Beautiful Bill passed this summer and the end of 2025. So they used an AI tool to scrub applications, and anyone who had the word officer in their resume was labeled law enforcement experience, even if it said, I aspire to be an ICE officer. That meant they did a 4-week virtual course rather than the 8-week in-person training that gets into things like firearms training, physical fitness test, legal classes. And so
and yes, a lot of these soldiers are ISR soldiers, you know, Israeli. A lot of them are Israeli. I mean, there's proof on this stuff. I'm not just, you know, people will sit up in the chat and say, oh, you're lying, you're not right, you're not. No, there's everything I'm saying. You can look this stuff up. And when it comes to what they're talking about right now, you know, they're getting little to no training. Some of the things that they have to learn in ICE, what qualifies them, some of the questions are, you know, things like, are you willing to separate a mother and father from their children? You know, you have to be willing to do things like that to get hired. Are you okay with using brute force? You know, test to see if you squeamish or not. They want to make sure you don't have a horse in a race. And I'm not saying they all are foreign soldiers, but I'm saying that a great deal of them are. I mean, not even 4 months ago, you had an ICE agent that got exposed on X. He got exposed because he was a staunch white supremacist. Yeah, he was a staunch white supremacist, and they uncovered that he was hiding behind his Twitter page, and he got in a lot of trouble for that. But anyway, let's continue.
Were fast-tracked even without having law enforcement experience. Now ICE is having to go through manually, find out how many of these people were incorrectly sent to field offices without the training and pull them back and mandate they get the training they were supposed to have. We don't know, Kristen, though, how many of those people actually left their field offices to go out on the streets. We're hoping it was caught there, but at this point, we just don't know.
It was just fascinating and one of the big pieces to this puzzle. Shaq, let me go back out to you because, again, there was this other ICE-involved shooting overnight there in Minneapolis. What can you tell us about that and the extent to which it's added to the tensions there?
I think it's definitely added to the tensions, and what we know, according to DHS, is that they were essentially, you had immigration officers essentially stopping someone, doing a traffic stop. They were trying to stop a Venezuelan immigrant, and they say in that traffic stop, the person fled. There was a scuffle at one point with one of the officers.
I mean, it looked like a war zone, and I don't think it's by chance that it happened to be a Venezuelan immigrant. And that's why I say everything seems to be scripted. Now, you know, what's the chances with all that's going on with Venezuela? Now, all of a sudden, a Venezuelan immigrant was shot. I mean, these are the type of things that's going on, man. I mean, this is all a stage. And This stuff we seeing right here, this is what we've seen in the movies the last 3-4 years. Don't this look like what we've been seeing in the movies the last 3-4 years? Well, it's happening. It's happening in real time.
And then they said 2 people came out of a nearby home and attacked this officer with a shovel, with a broom, and that is when the officer then opened fire. We saw some Facebook video of Facebook Live appearing to be from inside one of the homes where a woman talked about someone who was inside their home was shot in the leg by ICE. That is something that we continue to follow and see what's going on with that. But one thing I noted is that when I was at the scene, you saw the state investigators going through, combing the scene. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think that is so notable because one of the flashpoints here in Minnesota has been the idea that they've been left out of the investigation into the shooting of Renee Good. Despite that, you saw that similar process happen at the scene where Renee Good was killed. So you have a sense where the local authorities are doing what they can, even if there's not that partnership between local law enforcement and the federal troops here. Or federal agents here.
Yeah, and Shaq, just finally, I know you had the chance to talk to the attorney representing the family of Renee Nicole Good. What can you tell us about that conversation?
A few key things. One, they are calling for a transparent investigation. They are encouraging the federal government to work with state and local law enforcement and investigators in this investigation, but they're also saying they are ready to conduct their own investigation.
Well, it's a little bit too late for that when you had the president and vice president publicly say that the ICE agent in question has total immunity. I mean, it's a little bit too late for that. I can't trust them to show any levels of impartiality at this point. But, you know, I personally believe that the person who did it, I can't remember the ICE agent's name right now, but I believe he's going to get away with it. But anyway, let's continue.
They consider a possible civil lawsuit connected to her death. But I think one thing that they kept wanting to emphasize, this is the attorney for the family of Renee Good, is that they want this to be about unity. They said her father, for example, was a Trump voter. Her mother, someone who was more, or I should say she was someone who was a little bit more liberal. They pointed that out to say they want this not to be caught up.
And Trump has issued some statements to Renee Nicole's father as well. And that was just breaking news that Trump actually did respond to the father. I didn't hear what he had to say yet, but I will pull that up momentarily.
Up in the political debate, they don't want anyone to have violence or cause violence in her name. That was something they really wanted to emphasize, and they put the focus on her 3 young kids who are now without their mother.
Let me address Miss Rose Wise. If this scares you so much, make a plan to live in another country. We have 2 right next to us. We're not afraid. There's no fear here. I don't know why you believe we're afraid. You know, once this nation falls, as prophesied, you know, God's real chosen people will rule. So we're not afraid at all. We're just aware. We're just looking at what's going on, unpacking what's going on. I think Miss Rose, you may be the one that may be a little bit afraid because we're just covering the news. And that's all we're doing. What's going on, my brother Stevie? He says he has immunity because of the current beast system at hand. It's here. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. They have the right to take lives out here with no impunity. And that's what white supremacy is pushing right now, absolute control. But they really losing control. They're really losing control because the Most High is awakening his people. That's why so much chaos going on. They're being shaken from their foundation. But anyway, let's proceed.
That is what they want the focus to be on right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated.
You know what? I'm going to share with y'all what's going on in the streets in real time. Let me see if I could do it this way. Let's see. We got a couple videos I want y'all to take a look at here so we can see, kind of get what's going on out here. Hold on, let me see if I can show y'all what's happening in Minnesota. I'll make sure we get some sound. They deep. Oh, they deep.
This is crazy as fuck. I need everybody to save this video just in case it gets taken down again. I just did a video about 30 minutes ago. I've been trying to get it appealed. The appeal did not get approved. Anyways, I presented some identities, okay, of certain ICE agents located specifically in Chicago. A group that I associate myself with went through public records and found over 2,000 ICE agents, right? Well, throughout those 2,000 ICE agents, specifically 121 of them, right, had experience as an ex-IDF soldier. If you went up and down this entire list of individuals, you'd notice that their last names in particular, right, all lead back to one specific location with no other job experience. And maybe it won't let me post it because it's personal information. I have no idea. But there's literally a whole motherfucking list of these people, and they all look the same. Which tells me exactly why they're choosing to hide their faces, because just imagine, right, if some information like that were to get out. Which is why I'm making this video once again. I'm just saying, if you look into the background of these specific individuals, you might notice that they're not exactly a U.S. citizen. That in itself would prove everything, especially why they're acting the way that they are. This is crazy as fuck. I need everybody to save this video just in case it...
IDF soldiers. IDF soldiers, but he didn't release, he didn't release the proof, but this is just speculation for the record. This is speculation, but it makes sense. Because only people who really don't have a horse in a race will be out here doing the things they're doing. Manhandling actual U.S. citizens. Dragging pregnant women. Tackling high school students. Comfortable enough to just go around the streets and racially profile people. People who typically are born and raised in America, they're used to America being a melting pot to some degree. They're used to America having, a mixed multitude. Only some people who really don't have no horse in the race will come to America and move the way they're moving. It take a certain caliber of person to be an ICE agent. Now, I know there may be some brothers and sisters that are homegrown. There may be ICE agents simply because you just got a job to do. You just trying to pay your bills. But I'm going to honestly say this. All money ain't good money. All money ain't good money. But I know sometimes you got to do what you got to do until you get to your next gig. But man, you got to ask yourself, if you was putting God's people in the guillotines, are you going to say, man, I'm just getting a paycheck? I'm just getting a paycheck. If you were tasked with the duty of beheading God's people, are you going to say, I'm just getting a paycheck? That's all I'm saying. Anyway. I mean, that's not the one I was looking for. Let's continue here.
It's not just the words that came out of his mouth only seconds after taking Renee Good's life. It's the way he said them. He circled her car multiple times by holding a camera with one hand. Two women with a happy dog in the back seat. He's the one with the paycheck. He's the one who's armed. He's got all the power and he's got backup. And when it got too scary for her, and she decided she needed to not be a part of the situation, he chooses to stand in front of her vehicle. As she's turning past him, as he's allegedly afraid for his life, he digs real deep, steadies his phone, and with his other hand fires 3 shots. fast after firing those 3 shots. His first response isn't, oh shit. It's not to call for support because he discharged his weapon. No, instead he goes back to the same line he's used a million times before. Same line every Republican man in my life has used a million times before. The line they use when they get cut off in traffic. The line they use when they get stood up by a date. The line they use when they get rejected by a girl. The line they use when they're bottom of the leaderboard in Call of Duty. And the line they used when the cashier wouldn't sell them beer when they were 19 at the corner store. It's little man syndrome, insecurity, petulance, defiance, and cowardice. Rolled into 2 words. Fucking bitch. Those 2 words in that exact tone perfectly encapsulate MAGA red pill incel bro culture and perfectly articulate why that guy signed up for ICE in the first place. These words are uttered by MAGA men every single day, and Renee Good deserves so much better than for those to be the last 2 words she heard. You know, it's not just...
I mean, the man has a point. After discharging that weapon, you know, a normal person would have been like, oh man, I think they're hit. But to be calling there a effing B, that show you everything you need to know, man. There got to be a person that is demented. There got to be a person that should have never been behind a badge. It has to be a person who should have never been any law enforcement whatsoever. But see, that's the part that people are going to ignore. You know, because of their political affiliations. Listen, I'm going to make it clear on this side, we don't have any political affiliations. I know that y'all used to left and right. We're used to right or wrong. You got to choose one. And I feel as if a lot of these ICE agents, they're NPCs. There's some kind of demon spawns that are running around giving power that they shouldn't have. Right. And that's typical incel behavior, typical insecure behavior. You know, I see one gentleman in the chat. He says he's not with Israeli propaganda or something to that degree. Listen, sir. He says, I don't like streams where people make anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Where did you hear that at? We're not making any conspiracy theories. Nothing was said here that was anti-Semitic. I think you're over here to try to cause some confusion. And for that reason, I'm going to give you a timeout. Let's see, 30 minutes. We're going to put you on timeout for about 30 minutes. Anyway, that's what's going on in our country, man. I mean,
the Amish knew better. They never signed the deal with Babylon. Everybody clowns the Amish like they're outdated. The truth is, they knew what was coming. They made a decision that most Christians were too comfortable to make. They didn't contract with Babylon. They didn't sign into the beast system. No social security number, no birth certificate, no public schooling, no corporate banks, no government dependency. On the narrow path, enter ye in at the straight gate, because narrow is the...
Now, he makes a great point. Listen, you don't see the Amish going through this. Their papers ain't getting checked. They ain't getting frisked. And this is why we are supposed to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and start doing something for ourselves, having our own community set apart. Because I can tell you right now, the Amish ain't worried about none of this stuff going on in Babylon. They ain't worried about none of it. And that's more of the direction I believe we should head as people. Not choosing one political side or the other, but we need to be living as the Amish and being truly set apart. You know, living somewhere where you can cultivate your own livestock, your own land, and have your own resources. That's just how it's got to be in the near future. These people ain't letting up. These people are not letting up.
Wait. Did he really just say the quiet part out loud? Check this out.
I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also.
Hold on. Listen to it again.
You know, the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land.
So just because some boats happened to land in Greenland about 500 years ago doesn't mean that they are the respective owners of said land. Does that mean the boats that happened to land here in America about 500 years ago? Nah. Wait.
See, yeah, you know, right now, the colonizers on a mission right now. They about to take over Greenland, and they're showing you their horns. They're showing you, look, nobody owns nothing, and everything is free steak, and we going after it. That's what they doing right now. But I'm gonna tell you, man, things are gonna get crazy soon if they don't go ahead and do that Insurrection Act. And I think, you know, the powers that be understand that. And to be quite frank, the agenda that they wanted to be pushed is already pushed. But this is what's going on. These are the type of conversations the people are having.
I mentioned this before, but it is time to remember that the Black Panthers had a tactic where they would show up with a group of armed citizens when they saw a cop try to do an illegal arrest. A similar response to ICE agents would probably keep a lot of people from being kidnapped or killed. I've mentioned this before, but it is time to remember that the Black Panthers had a tactic where they would show up with a group of armed citizens when they saw a cop try to do an illegal arrest. A similar response to ICE agents would probably keep a lot of people from being kidnapped or killed.
Now, listen. That's all it would take for America to be in a full-blown civil war. It has all the other components. It has all the other components. You got political division. You got nationwide protest. The only thing left is an armed mass militia. And we're coming into that time. We're coming into that time, man, if this stuff continues. And this is why, look, we always talking about repentance. It's a time for repentance. It's a time to going back to the Father, living righteously. And I'm going to tell you, I try to tell my people stay out of this, but some of them getting lured in all of this. Some of them, you know, they falling into the traps. Like, look at this. Here's some LA Crips, you know, trying to go against ICE.
We gotta stand up for our rights or die behind it. On my soul. I got a son I'm raising, so I want my son to be a real man.
Y'all wanna go to war? We're gonna really go to war. That's how it's gonna come down to. If these niggas really wanna go to war, we can go to war. All that kumbaya, all that marching and all that saying shit that rhyme, that sound cool, it look cute on camera. It's time to really be militant. It's time to make sure you got your mace. Make sure you got your facial protection. Make sure you got the things that you need when you outside. All that holding hands and all that MLK shit, that shit's out, bro.
Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you like this. This ain't our battle, brothers. This ain't our battle. What we got to do is come back to the Most High. You know, in order for us to find salvation through all of this, we got to be following our laws, statutes, and commandments. That's just not where it's at. Let them people have that. Let them people have that. It's a reason why we in the situation we in right now as a people. Let's see.
What's going on? What's up with you?
Watch out, man. What's up with me? I don't know what they on with me, bro. I got cameras. I got cameras, y'all tweaking. You got the right to what? Y'all got the right to what? I got cameras.
And I mean, see, this is what's going on right now. A lot of people believe that they're just going after immigrants. No, man, you could tell that this guy is American. But this is what's going on the streets on real time. They pulling up on people. They're literally snatching people. So I get the tension. I get why people want to revolt and do all that. But at this time, you just got to stay out the way. You got to stay out the way. And everybody make sure you double tap the screen to get the likes up. Oh, shout out to Geno Jennings. He called out Trump in a wild way, man. Let me play that because he just told the truth right here in this clip.
Listen to Pastor Jennings, you old Trump lovers. You don't like me, and I don't care if you don't. I love you, you held down heathens. You got a pervert in the White House.
Go ahead.
You ain't got nothing but an orange pervert in the White House. You know I ain't on the air to make friends with nobody.
That's right.
You folks elected a pervert.
It's a pervert.
Why you think the White House and the Congress are so upside down?
Yeah.
The whole America now is upside down.
Upside down.
The whole country done lost their mind practically. Everything is disorganized.
Disorganized. That's right.
Somebody commented and said, well, why don't you speak against all the Muslims or all the Muslims need to be deported? Why?
Why?
Click here to watch the full sermon.
Listen to Pastor Jennings.
I mean, look, hey, you might not agree with everything Pastor Geno Jennings says, but hey, in this circumstances right here, he's just telling the truth. You know, hey, when the man's right, he's right. When he's right, he's right. A lot of these Trump supporters, they got some real issues, man. A lot of these MAGA supporters, they got some real issues. The fact that they willing to, you know, stand behind a known pervert. We can't even say alleged pervert. No, it's out there. The information is out there. See, all that's going on right now is a distraction from the fact that those files was released. A lot of redactions were pulled back. We don't even have to say allegedly. We know that Trump has been implicated in a series of crimes. And they're in the files.
This is for all the Democratic mayors, senators, governors, representatives that are out there saying, fuck ICE, get the fuck out of our city. I don't need you to do shit that I can do, okay? Getting online, tweeting, running my bulka, saying get the fuck out of our city, fuck ICE, is the only power I have. It's all I got. It's all any of us got. You have actual power. Arrest the ICE agent. Send the fucking National Guard and turn them the fuck around the other way so that they're protected.
And see, this is the reason right here why so much chaos going on. You know, listen, that's what the people want to happen, but it ain't going to happen that way.
American citizens, not defending ICE agents. Do some actual real fucking work. Do your job. This is for all the...
I mean, I get where she's coming from, though. You know, the only power that the citizens got is to run their mouth. Legislation got to change. There got to be some boots on the ground. Or the people got to go ahead and get out there, get their Elmer Fudd shotguns, get their beef jerky, get their Rux gear bags. And they're going to have to make it happen because that's the only thing that's going to be respected. Either do that or stay out the way. You know, listen, the revolution ain't going to come because a bunch of liberal middle-aged white ladies is out there marching. That's not going to happen. Y'all going to have to get them good old boys out there. Yeah, y'all going to have to get y'all ARs and y'all AKs, or y'all going to have to get out the way. That's the only thing that's going to cause any change for real. Yeah, that's right. Get your beef jerky, your Rux gear bags, your Elmer Fudd shotguns, and go make something shake. get your pickup trucks and hit the scene. I'm telling you. But they saying that that Trump's health is actually dwindling, man. I don't know how true it is, but I watched this one creator who happens to be a former doctor who talks about some of the things, some of the decisions Trump make. But peep this though, see what y'all think.
Many of you have asked me, what can we expect from the president's dementia over the next couple of weeks or months? Well, friends, he did it yesterday, multiple times. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience working in home health care, treating geriatric patients with dementia, just like this guy.
Well, I gotta look at this place up. Wow. What a view. This is the door to the bar.
What are you doing?
Yo, this man got up in the middle of a meeting to go look at what's going on with the ballroom, bro. In the middle of the meeting, bro. They were looking dumbfounded. I mean, hey, Trump is, man, he's elderly. He is elderly.
Just give me a second. He gets up in the middle of a meeting of top executives from an industry that is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and he just walks to the door to check on the progress.
That's right, Kimberly. He done forgot about them stimulus checks he's supposed to be running. Where everybody's stimulus check? And he done forgot about that.
Of his adult coloring book ballroom. His frontal lobe is shrinking. It can no longer stop his limbic system, his emotional impulse center, from doing something completely stupid.
I think really very well. Marco just gave me a note. Go back to Chevron. They want to discuss something. Go ahead. I'm going back to Chevron. Marco. Thank you, Marco.
Was there a question, Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead, Marco. What are you saying here?
Mark, if you can update us.
Did you see his face? He's like, holy shit, brother. You weren't supposed to read that out loud. Again, his frontal lobe is atrophying. It's getting smaller inside of his brain. It was a private note he wasn't supposed to say out loud. Everybody to his left is freaking the fuck out. Like, why would you read that? Oh, hey, Susie Wiles, don't think that I didn't catch your fucking face over here. She's got that look like, I planned for this shit. Blast him. I'm telling y'all, with all the symptoms he's displaying and his additional medical history of possible stroke, TIA, heart failure, kidney disease, I'd say he's got 2 to 4 months left in the land of the living, or before they invoke the 25th, if possible, or he gets impeached. God, I can't wait till his next meeting with a bunch of extremely important people. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I mean, yeah, you know, the Trump reign of terror will be over sometime soon. I mean, I truly do believe that. And then they're going to find a next puppet, you know. And, then, you know, dementia is nothing that we should really laugh at. I get that. Somebody in the chat said dementia is not to be laughed at. I get that. You know, this guy, he was cracking up hysterically. But for some reason, when it's Trump, you know, when it's Trump, you know what I'm saying. You know. And, yeah, you know, J.D. Vance ain't going to be no better than Trump, you know, truthfully speaking, you know. I mean, they got, I just heard Iran threatened to assassinate Trump, and they said they wasn't going to miss. And Trump threatening to bomb Iran, Iran saying they're going to assassinate Trump. I mean, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. Let me see here.
I'm
might be wrong, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that the U.S. has the most armed citizens in any country in the world. The reason why the Second Amendment even exists is not so that you can protect yourself from your neighbors or an intruder in the middle of the night the way that the NRA would like you to believe. The reason why the Second Amendment exists is literally to protect citizens from federal tyranny. That's why. As a Black person, I am consistently aware that the federal government is a tyrant. Like, I know that, especially to Black and brown communities. I feel like the media has made it so easy to just call us the problem. But now I feel like you can't make any excuses for this. A white woman is unalived in the middle of the day, and the ICE agent that committed this crime is probably working today, getting off scot-free. If that is not federal tyranny, I don't know what is, you guys. And I've seen a lot of protests happening today, but I think it's time to start exercising our Second Amendment. I don't know. As a country with the most arms just in circulation, it is ridiculous how nobody has taken that step. I don't know. I might be.
Yeah, that's why I question the authenticity of a lot of this, man. You had such a tragic situation that took place, and you would think people would catch on, but the revolution is not going to be spearheaded by a bunch of liberal middle-aged white ladies. It's just not going to happen, and it's not going to happen by protest. It's just not going to happen that way. It's a lot going on. Let me see what this guy's talking about here.
So just in case you didn't know, when a country attacks another sovereign nation and then kidnaps the president and the president's wife of that nation and now claims they're going to run that nation, that literally goes against 1, Congress, and 2, the United Nations. See, when things like this happen, we're supposed to tell our allies that we're going to do it, and then we vote on it. The UN right now is saying the United States should have no vote in any matter whatsoever anymore until Donald Trump gets his shit together or otherwise. Not only that, but because China, Iran, and Russia are 3 of Venezuela's biggest importers of their oil.
Well, we already didn't unpack this on a previous broadcast. The thing is, the oil flow is going to continue. The oil flow is going to continue, so... it is what it is. I just wanted to come through with this particular broadcast and keep you enlightened to what's going on. I mean, it's getting worse in Minnesota. It doesn't look like it's really slowing down. I'm pretty sure if it doesn't slow down within the next few days, the Insurrection Act is going to be used. And once it's used, we're going to see what happens next. Of course, we're not living in fear. We already know all of this was written. George Orwell, 1984, they were talking about this. The Bible talk about this in the book of Esdras. There's plenty of books, plenty of documents about what's going on in the world right now. So, let your souls be at ease. Over here on Nubreed Global Truth, we pretty much just keep you enlightened to what's happening in real time. Some of you all don't watch the news and you rather hear commentary about the news from someone who gives a biblical perspective on things. So, some of y'all, I've had so many people hit me up and say, Breed, I don't even watch the news. But when you are covering the news, I watch your platform. So that's an honor to have that. And it's really not about politics for us over here. It's more so about prophecy. It's more so about prophecy and being aware of what's going on. Yep. The movie 1984. Yep. That's a good one. It tells you all about this stuff. But I want to thank each and every one of y'all. Y'all stay blessed out there. More material coming. Peace.